Today is Thursday, November 13th, 2014, and this is the beginning of an interview with Mr. Stephen Marvicsin at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in Fremont, Ohio. My name is Julie Miley, and I will be conducting this interview. Mr. Marvicsin is 91 years old, having been born on January 1st, 1924. Can you state for the record your name, what war you served in, the branch of military, and the years that you served?
I was put into the Air Force, United States Air Force, in 1943, April of 1943. And what else I need now?
So you served during World War II?
Yes.
Okay.
I was in World War II. Outside of the United States, I served in CBI, which was China, Burma, and India.
Okay.
And until the end of the war.
All right. Now, when you entered the military, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted in, yes.
Okay. Where were you living at the time?
Well, at the time I was living in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania.
Really?
I was working there, and actually my home was in Ohio, in Mansfield, Ohio. But then when I got drafted, I quick came back to Mansfield and told them about it, and they said, well, that's all right. But I got drafted the next month. So,
wow.
So I was drafted from Mansfield then.
Okay.
And from there, I went down to let's see, where did I go? Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
For your basic training?
For basic, well, no. That was where we went in at first, and there we went through a lot of tests and to find out where we're going to go, I guess.
Okay.
And what branch. We didn't know where we were going.
Oh, you didn't know what?
No, we didn't know. They were trying to put me in the Navy one time, and I really didn't want to get it all in there. So I said Army, and that's where all I knew was I was going to get in the Army branch.
Huh.
So then when we finally left there, after all these interviews and tests and stuff, we got on the train, not knowing where we're going, naturally, during the war. We ended up in Miami Beach, Florida.
Really?
And then we found out we were in the Air Force, which was wonderful. That's what I wanted.
Really?
Really, yeah. So that's where I served my basic training.
Now, going down there, was this your first time? Well, it sounds like you've been away from home. So did you have any other siblings in the military or anything like that?
Oh,
at the
yes.
time?
I had, my brother was a pilot.
Really?
Yes, he was a pilot on a B-17 bomber. And my older brother was he was in the service too, but he was more in the Secret Service type.
Really?
So we had the three of us then. But
so was it a culture shock going down there, going through all that basic training, or you were kind of used to it?
no, I didn't mind it at all. In fact, I was learning, and of course, it was nice. I never expected to be down there. It was a little bit like a vacation, kind of, being down there. Although it was just thorough.
Right.
And,
what was the base called down there? Or the?
well, it was just a Miami Beach training center.
Huh.
That's all I can remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then after basic training from there, they sent me to Keesler Field, Mississippi. No, Keesler Field, no. Yeah, Keesler Field, Mississippi. There I went through school, airplane engine school.
Okay.
I learned all about the bomber, B-24 bomber. And After that, they sent me up to Detroit, Michigan, to Chevrolet factory school on engines,
Really?
strictly engine, which was only about 5 weeks training there, but really wonderful.
Huh.
So then from there, they sent me out to Casper, Wyoming.
What's out in Wyoming?
Out to big air base.
Really?
This is all during the war, of course.
Okay.
And a B-24 bomber, 4-engine bomber. That's what I learned on. That's what I went to school for.
So you went to school to repair and...
Everything.
Okay.
Practically everything on the plane except armament and radio.
Okay.
Other than that, that was my job.
Huh.
So we spent several months there. And then, then of course, they were getting me ready to go overseas. I went down to Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm telling you, shift is all over the country, you know. You never know where you're going.
You know, people always say it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and you never know what you're doing.
That's exactly right. And when you're on a train, you don't know where you're going because first thing you know, you're on the sideline, and then you move and you go in a different direction. And,
Oh, God.
but from there, Greensboro, I went out to California to go overseas. We went out to the Pacific.
Do you remember what it was like leaving?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that feeling?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know where we were going, though, again. All I knew was we were getting on the ship, and we were going to leave. We had heavy clothing, which we thought we were going up to Alaska or somewhere,
Right.
you know. But before we knew it, we were crossing the equator, going south, and we ended up down in Australia and stopped there for 3 or 4 days.
Huh.
And they were refueling. And then when we left Australia, we circled around and picked up 2 English corvette ships, which were like escorts.
Oh, okay.
And we ended up in India, Bombay, India,
Really?
with all them heavy clothes. So we went from Bombay, we got on the train after 3 or 4 days after we got there. Went clear across over to Calcutta, the other end of India. And there we were assigned where we were going to go. And we didn't know where we were going. We couldn't read the orders. We had them, but we couldn't read them.
You couldn't decipher them, yeah.
So, of course, there's a lot of things happened in between there, and when we got there, it was nighttime. No lights. Right in the war zone. So, we all held on to each other and went into a big, huge tent. And they had a little bit of light in there, and they fed us in there. In that same time, Tokyo Rose, I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she was the one
I've actually heard of that.
talked to the Japanese and welcomed us there. How she knew it, I don't know, but she knew we were there and welcomed us, said, well, sorry they couldn't welcome us, but they'll try to do it. Of course, during the night they did. They bombed a railway station right close there.
Really?
A place called Dum Dum Junction.
Really?
Junction, something like that. And what a mess. But then from there, we were put on a train loaded full of bombs, 7 of us. And they said, you stay right with this train till you get to the destination. Well, sometime during the night, they start breaking up that train. So we didn't know what to do.
Oh, you mean you didn't know where to...
We were supposed to stay with that
Right.
train, but they were breaking it all up into different sections.
Okay.
So we decided among us, well, you're going to go with this train, you go with that one, we'll go this. So that's the way we ended.
Wow.
I ended up with 2 of us, and we still didn't know where we were going. And we rode around for about 6 days on that train, never knowing what direction we were going in. That's the way it was all mixed up to keep you. Finally, we got to a place, and that's when the B-29 bomber, it was the first time I ever saw one.
Really?
We stopped at that base. And I thought, oh, what a difference that was according to the way we had, because that's a huge bomber.
Uh-huh.
So we reported into the office there and showed them our orders and everything. They said, well, we don't know where that is. So I finally ended up going into the mess hall and talking to a mess sergeant in there. He said, I don't really know either, but we have a truck comes in every morning with food and stuff, groceries and supplies.
Okay.
Maybe he would know. But he'd be here about 5 o'clock in the morning. So we made sure we were up in there. And he said, yeah, I know where that is. He said, we're going there. So we hopped on the truck with the food, And we did.
Got there one way or the other.
And the surprising thing about it was, when we got on that train, for 6 days we rode on there, and we never went more than 40 miles.
No way.
They went around, circled around and everything, every direction. I don't know, they're trying to confuse people, I think. And that's where it was.
Really?
Yeah. And that's where we ended up at our base.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where we stayed there then. That's where we got hold of our planes.
Okay.
But we didn't get a bomber. We got a fighter plane. I was in the fighter squadron.
Huh.
Yeah, I had a P-47 Thunderbolt plane. And that was my plane to take care of continually. Make sure it would fly and ready to fly.
So you always took care of the same plane?
That's the only plane I worked on.
Really?
That's right. That plane was mine.
So you felt that responsibility for that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it was my job every morning to get out there and pre-flight that plane.
Okay.
Have it ready to fly.
Now, what's that entail?
That entails starting that plane up and putting it all through the procedures that the pilot would do before he took off.
Okay.
In other words, it was made sure that it was capable of flying right now.
Okay.
If not, I could stop it. I could shut it off. The forms to take care of. But that's what we did. We pre-flighted it, turned the engine on, run it up to full speed, ready to take off, and everything to make sure it was ready for a pilot. And they that's what they depended on a lot.
Oh, I bet.
So
was it just a pilot and a co-pilot, or just one single?
No, just single engine plane.
Single engine.
Yeah. See, that's what I went to engine school for.
Okay.
I didn't know why I went there, but I found out then. Because that engine on that plane was the engine we learned on.
And you just didn't know that until you got it.
Yeah, so you learn a lot of things as you get older, but they don't tell you anything, till you get there.
It's all in hindsight, huh? That's why I was doing that.
Yeah. So I was on there for all that time I was over in India until the end of the war.
Oh, really?
And then when the war ended, we left.
India?
We went to China then.
Now, the base that you were at in India, was it a pretty hostile area, or were you guys sort of behind the front lines?
Well, we were what you call in the rear echelon. In other words, we were pretty safe there. Although there's a lot of activity from time to time, but we were pretty safe that far away because we had the planes. See, they always had the bases out away from the actual where they're flying and stuff. Okay. And what we did there was give the pilots a chance to get a break, because maybe about every 6 weeks, they would leave and go to China. See, we had three things. We had 91st, 92nd, and 93rd fighter squadrons in one group.
Okay.
And we were the 93rd. So each 6 weeks, they would leave and they would go up in China and fly up there and fight with the Japanese.
Oh.
And then they would someone would come back.
So the squadrons would kind of...
It just kept like that. So we were actually fairly safe.
Okay.
And,
so then you said after that you went to China?
yeah. And when we left there, we packed up everything and got on a boat.
No, this was at the end of the war?
Yeah, the war had just ended, yeah. They signed the treaty that they were ending.
Do you remember that day?
Oh, very much so.
Can you kind of describe
We were all
that?
happy.
Yeah?
Up to that point.
Really?
So after that, we left there, and the ship went down through the Malayan Straits. And then he stopped there to get fuel, I guess, for 3 or 4 days. There's a lot of ships in there, in that big bay. And when we left there, we went down around the south of China to turn. We were going to go to the headquarters of Kunming, China. That's where our headquarters was.
Okay.
But after we got around to the bottom side of China, we run into a typhoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
A
God.
typhoon. You hear about it, you see it on TV
Right.
sometimes. And we were in it for 6 days. And our boat was, that's what we were doing.
A lot of seasickness?
It was worse than that. We never thought we was going to come out of it.
Really?
It was tossed us around terrible. Just like a little ping pong ball in a wash machine.
Oh my God. 6 days?
6 days. And the 7th day, the ocean was like a mirror.
Calm after the storm.
Calm. And we were 1,000 miles off of course.
Oh my gosh.
And we ended up finally ended up in Shanghai. And there's where we stayed until we left to come home.
Wow.
So there was a lot of experience, you know. But
When you were over there, did you stay in contact with family back home? Did you do letters, anything like that?
oh yeah, we could write letters. Yeah, You couldn't tell them nothing. They would give anything away. You know,
Right, you couldn't really tell them where you were at or kind of what you
because they kind of censored the stuff.
That's what I've heard quite
Yeah.
a bit. So,
Yeah.
did you ever have like leave or so, kind of go into town and...
Oh yeah, we could go to town there, like when we were in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
We could go downtown, yeah, because the war had ended
Okay.
technically, but they were still. Some of the Japanese there you had to be careful, and well, there's different things I could say. But while we were there, we could hear right where we were stationed. There was a place called Rockefeller Institute. There's a huge building with a big stone wall around it.
Okay.
And it was divided in half. The Chinese had half of it and the Americans had the other half.
Okay.
That's where we were. And we were allowed to go uptown, see, and do whatever we wanted to do near. Of course, there's a lot of things to do, and you see, a lot of shopping and stuff to do there.
Right.
But they were actually almost every day shooting Japanese. They had a big racetrack there, right close, not very far from where we were.
Okay.
And we could hear when the drums rolling and a band playing, and they would have 1 or 2 Japanese leading them on to that racetrack, and then they shoot them.
Really?
Yeah. But there's a lot of things like that, happening, going on like that. But it was interesting.
Did you stay with like any of the people that you were in basic training with? Did you stay with anybody through that whole time, or did you guys pretty much get?
Well, we were split up. Now, when we started out with basic training, it just seemed like everybody seemed to get split up in different places.
Yeah.
Some went to different branches.
Wow.
You know, like I said, you didn't know where you're going to go. And actually, I didn't go with anybody. Just one time down when I was down in Mississippi in Keesler Field, I ran into a fellow that from home.
Really?
But I didn't even know he was in the service.
Huh.
He went in too, but then he ended up there too. But I didn't see him after that
Okay.
when we left. But you get to meet a lot of people, you know, and get friends.
Mm-hmm.
You get to be pretty close with each other.
Yeah.
So you try to help each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in any branch. Yeah.
So after, so you were in China. What did you do after that? How long were you in China that you were done?
Well, I was there for, I forget, a couple of months or something like that. I got it all written down in here, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then when we left, we got on the ship to go home to the United States. Well, we had a little bit of things happen there, I might say. I didn't know it at the time, but we had our outfit had a Chinese boy, a little Chinese boy, as a mascot, because he lost his family.
Okay.
He was Japanese, and I didn't know it, like I said, till about 2 weeks later, and they smuggled him on board in their barracks bag. And then after that, he was up. And what are you going to do? They're not going to turn around and take him back.
The whole ship around.
Well, they brought him over to the States, and there was 2 Chinese fellas in our outfit. They wanted to adopt him, and it was a matter of time until they did a lot of checking and everything, and finally, one of them did.
Really?
Adopt him, yeah, in the States. But during that time when we were coming home, must have been about 2 weeks. It took us 21 days to come home.
Did it?
But in about 2 weeks, something happened. The ship stopped. The engine. They said that they lost the propeller off the ship, and we were just floating for 2 or 3 days. Yeah, they said they put up some canvases and everything up there, and any wind would keep them going, you know. And while we're sitting there just doing nothing, you know, I could see other ships going by, and we'd wave at them, you know.
Hey.
And they probably wondered what we were doing, just sitting there.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I heard that they scrapped that ship after we got off of it.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people were on, our troops were on that ship?
I think we probably had about, I suppose, close to 1,000.
Okay.
I couldn't tell exactly,
Huh.
but then we were supposed to end up in well, we were coming to Washington, yeah, state of Washington.
Okay.
We were supposed to end up one place, and it was too crowded there, and they couldn't get unloaded, so we went to another town right not far from there, and we unloaded from there. Then from there we went up to to a base up there in Washington State, and, for kind of get sorted out, you know, and checked out and everything, all your stuff. We were getting ready to get dismissed.
Okay.
So they shipped us then from there down to Indianapolis. That's where I come out from. So, and then I came home from there.
Now, did your parents know that you were coming home?
Yeah, they knew. I called them then after
Did
we
you?
hit the States. Yeah, they were glad to have it.
Oh,
I was too.
I bet.
But they tried to tell us, they tried to get us to re-enlist
Okay.
to go to South Korea. And I didn't want to. I said, I had enough. Over 3 years,
You
I
did
wanted to
your
get home.
duty.
We never had a furlough.
I was just going to ask you, you never got to come home or anything?
No. Well, I did at one time, but it wasn't a furlough. My sister died when I was in Wyoming.
Okay.
And I had to leave to come home for that.
Okay.
But that was a case. Another case that didn't work out right. But just something more to say, you know.
Yeah. So after you got home, did you go back to work? Did you go to school?
When I come home, yeah, my brother had already been discharged from the service
Okay.
for me, and he started a body and fender shop, a repair shop, and he wanted me to come in and work with him. So I did for a while, and then he finally moved to California and left me there with the shop. And after a while, and I went to California because he called me out there and had a place out there for me. But I moved around a lot.
Did you?
And then eventually I came back to Ohio, and from there I took an apprenticeship course in masonry. So I learned to lay brick, which I did for about 30 years.
Oh, wow.
But that, and I also took another apprenticeship course in electronics while I was at it. So
Man of many trades.
actually, I did about 3 apprenticeship courses, which took about 12 years of my life
Yeah.
to learn. And I was never sorry about it because I always had a job.
No?
But eventually, then I ended. The last job I had was up in Sandusky at the General Motors,
Oh, okay.
because I had my journeyman's card for machine repair,
Okay.
and I lucky I got that job, which was the best job I ever had.
Huh.
And I always liked it, and it worked out great.
Did you ever get married, have any children?
Oh yeah, I was married. We have 3 boys and a girl. Yeah, the girl was first. Yeah, she lives in Florida now. I lost my middle son,
Okay.
here about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
But, the oldest son, he lives over in Fort Clinton, and he works for Ford.
Okay.
And my youngest son is handicapped. He was in an accident. He lives with me.
Oh, that's nice.
33 years.
Oh.
He was hurt. But he's managing to get around. He drives, and so. But
Do you stay in contact with anybody that you were served with?
I did for a while, and I lost contact. See, that's the trouble with this. After 70-some years, you know, a lot of them have just disappeared.
Right.
And actually, I don't have any contact with any of them right now. I tried to keep contact with one fella up there in Wisconsin, and I never got an answer the last time, so I figured maybe he's gone too.
Yeah. Did you ever attend any reunions or anything?
Oh yeah, I used to go to reunions, yeah. And and my wife used to go along with me, down in Dillfield, down in Florida. And then we had one down in Cincinnati one time, we had one out in Pennsylvania, several different places. And I made good acquaintances with the general from our outfit, his daughter, and his sons down in Georgia. I stopped and made friends with them, and it was real nice. I got to some literature from, like quite a bit of literature from them, you know, and stuff that important things, you know, about their father. And he was real good. That was General Chenault.
Chenault.
Yeah, he was from the Flying Tigers. That was our outfit. He started it, and it was a wonderful outfit. They have a wonderful record. I don't know, maybe you never heard of them.
No, it rings a bell.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty well known.
But it's quite a history about it. It was a big outfit.
Yeah.
And it was started by Chenault. At that one time, he and two other pilots left the United States and went over to China. And Chiang Kai-shek was the head of China there. And he asked them to teach their pilots how to fly, because they were getting hit by the Japanese right along.
Huh.
And so that's what they did. They taught them, and little by little, they got what they call the AVGs. AVGs. That was their group, American Volunteer Group.
Okay.
And that was before I got in, the original ones.
Huh.
And different pilots would come in and join them on their own, even though the war was on.
Really?
But at that time, the United States wasn't involved. This was their own volunteer group.
Huh.
And I think Chiang Kai-shek said that since they were a lot of them getting together over there, that he would pay them $500 for every Japanese plane they knocked down.
Oh my God.
At that time. I suppose it'd be their money. And they got so good that he named them. He said, "You guys fly like tigers," he says.
And that's how
so they
named
called them Flying Tigers outfit.
Huh.
And that's how it happened. Well, after it got so where the Japanese were getting pretty strong, taking over a lot of China,
Right.
Chiang Kai-shek asked President Roosevelt, "Why don't you get your group over here and help us?"
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they did, and that's when I got involved in the same outfit. We got in there and replaced them,
Okay.
the original group, and they didn't want to get back in under the war, so some of them quit. And but we got over there then. Of course, then it got big. You know, they sent a lot of people over there, fellows in different groups, different squadrons and everything. It got to be quite a big thing, and it took care of the Japanese. Yeah.
Huh.
So they had a very proud group, and our general then he came home, and somebody else took over. There were so many different things happening there. But, it was good. I was proud of being in it. I mean, I was never actually afraid.
No.
Because we never got actually to that point. We hear about a lot of stuff, and you know, but not directly on us.
Okay.
And but that's the way it was.
Looking back at it, do you think you would have served again? Would you do it again?
I don't, not now.
No, but if you...
Well, I'll tell you, with what I had, I wouldn't have minded. But then I had my mother to take care of, and then of course I had brothers at home there. They pitched in there and took care of her while I was gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, somebody did, or not my sister too. But it's. But you see, all this happened when I graduated in '41, and that's when the Pearl Harbor hit. So I never got a chance to go to college or anything. Right away they had me designated as 4F for the service. So that knocked that in the head.
Do you think you would have went to college?
I was going to.
You were scheduled to?
I had already applied for it before we knew it happened.
Really?
But then that was the end of that. Actually, I went to a private school right outside of Philadelphia. Some wonderful woman sent me through school. Now that's dating back to the Depression days, which you don't know anything about. I'm glad. I'm glad, and I hope we never see it again. Because we had nothing. No jobs, no money, no nothing. That's how the Depression was. You hear them talk about recession now. That's nothing. That's nothing. You was walking around the streets, picking up anything you could find, or almost begging. That's how bad it was. And I remember that when the stock markets crashed in 1929. I remember that playing.
Really?
I was 5 years old then.
And you remember?
Well, I remember back to when I was 2 years old even.
Do you really?
I do. I'll tell you. Is this all on here?
Oh yeah, but that's okay.
I don't want to tell you everything.
Why? I can cut this stuff out.
Oh.
I can edit.
Well, I'll tell you a little incident happened one time. We lived right bordering a fire department in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And it was a nice sunny day, you know. I was about 2 years old. And my two brothers, oldest brothers, had a car sitting out there at the driveway they were working on, out on the street, I mean. And my mother told them to watch me out there. It was right on the sidewalk, you know. And, okay. So I'm out there walking around there and everything. And that car, at that time, they had running boards on the side of the cars. Yeah. And I must have got tired, and I just sat down on the running board and laid down and fell asleep. Well, they didn't realize it, you know. So when they were done, they hopped into the car from the street side instead of coming around and getting in. And then they took off. Everything was fine until they made the corner. And when they made the corner, I got flying off into the intersection, you know.
My God.
And the people are all hollering at him and everything, and they're waving back, you know. They thought they're waving. Until they finally looked back, and there I am, laying out in the middle of the intersection. I remember that plane.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah. I remember that plane. And though they stopped and got, and they was afraid to get home that they're going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't remember anything happening after that for them.
But you weren't injured?
No.
No scrapes or anything?
I was free. I was asleep and it's loose. It just rolled.
That helps,
you know.
yeah.
But that's just one of them things I remember. But I can remember a lot of different things. But
wow.
yeah, and we moved a lot.
Did you?
Yeah, we moved a lot back then because, like I say, you didn't have the money. And to rent a house, it cost you $15 a month.
Wow.
That's nothing, isn't it?
It's nothing now.
Back then, that was a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't have it. And of course, my dad, he was a bricklayer, and anytime he'd ever find a little work anywheres, we moved wherever the work was.
Right, because not many people were hiring or building anything.
And there was always a lot of houses empty, you know.
Wow.
But, there was a lot of things happened back in the days, yeah.
Huh.
But we made it.
Yeah.
We made it. Sometimes we had to work pretty hard to learn something, you know.
Yeah.
And,
It was worth it.
everything worked fine there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any of the honor flights?
Where?
The honor flight? Have you ever taken the honor flight down to D.C. to see the memorial or anything like that?
Back in 91, we had a 50th anniversary in China,
Really?
and I went.
You did?
And my wife didn't want to go. So I mentioned it to my sister who lived in Philadelphia, and she jumped at it because she'd been to Hong Kong one time. So we went. We had 17 days. And it cost us $1,200 a piece to fly over, spend all that time, and back.
Wow.
But in 17 days, we got to go anywhere we wanted in China.
Huh.
Nowadays, people can't go do that. They can only go certain places.
Right.
But we were classed as special, because anywhere we went, they had big red signs, "Welcome home, Flying Tigers."
Really?
And we all had red hats on that they gave us, that they wanted. Yeah. And we go to, seems like about 2 days at a time, we'd be in one hotel, beautiful hotels, beautiful hotels, like we got them, the best ones. And we stayed there, and everything was furnished. And if we wanted to go anywhere, you just tell them, and they take you out there to the plane, and you're gone. There's no fooling around. They take you.
Wow.
Well, we wanted to go to Kunming, where our headquarters was, and see it. Of course, it's all gone now. Maybe there wasn't more landing strip there than about 30 feet.
Really?
It all growed over. Chinese took it all over. But
what did it feel like seeing that again, though?
well, it was something to see, and there was a little shack there yet, I think. But we went all over. We went up on the wall in China, walked pictures, and we went to what they call the stone forest. No trees, all stones.
Like big boulders?
Beautiful thing, yeah, to see.
Huh.
Yeah, we walked through that stuff, and we watched how they made silk. That's something to see.
Yeah, that's an art.
Out of silkworms.
Yeah, that's an art.
And all kinds of things. And we watched how they worked, made things. You would like that.
Huh.
We watched 2 girls sitting there at a loom, working, making a carpet out of silk. Beautiful work. And I watched the gal working there. She had a bundle of threads about like that, about every color you can imagine mixed in there. And she would reach in there and take one like that, put it on a needle, and she'd be making a tapestry. You name it, and she did it. Wow. She was working on this one here. It looked like a photograph.
Wow.
When she was done. And when she took that thing over, turned it over, and it's the same thing on the other side.
Oh my God.
And you couldn't find a knot nowheres. That's the type of work they do.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, I'm telling you.
Wow.
No knots, and the back is the same as the front.
Man,
You know how things are. You look on the back and it's nothing.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
nothing.
But that's the way they do their work. And we see a lot of stuff from China. But the stuff you see over here is that cheap stuff they're sending over here.
Right. It's not.
But they got some quality stuff over there. And we went through places where a jewelry store, not a store, it was a building. And the person was sitting here and have a board up here. And another one, that's the way it was all the way down the line, maybe 30, 40
little
people.
booths.
And they got a drawer here. It's either gold or diamonds or whatever it is. They're making up jewelry, real stuff.
Wow.
And we were allowed to stand there and watch them, And then, of course, outside there they have the showroom where you could buy stuff. And we were allowed. They give us some percentage off if we wanted to buy. And, of course, I bought a lot of things, like that. But they had some beautiful work. But that's the kind of stuff they're sending over here,
Yeah, you wouldn't get
I don't
that
think
over
it's
here.
their fault. I think it's our guys that are over there,
They're sourcing
that
it 'cause
have
they
moved
want
over
it
there,
cheaper.
they're buying this stuff next to nothing and sending it over here for us to buy.
All right.
And that's a shame that the people are buying it. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's so much nice stuff to see over there in China, I tell you. And of course, Shanghai, you know, that was a big city. That's the biggest city. It was the biggest city in the world at one time, and it divided just like a pie, sections. Chinese had the biggest section there, but you had Russian, you had Italian, you have all different nationalities have their own sections.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
it was very interesting.
Huh. Good experience.
Yeah, and they have the best pickpockets in the world over there. That's right.
Oh. Huh.
I was walking down the street with my buddy. He worked in the PX, which he had something he had in his shirt pocket. He had 2 Parker 51 fountain pens,
Okay.
brand new. Here, buttoned it, closed his blouse up, buttoned it, everything. And we were walking down the street, and that quick, those are gone. And he never felt it. All we did, we saw kind of a shadow, and that was it. And he reached, and they're both gone. How they got in there, they were both buttoned, and the shirt was buttoned. And we never found them.
What?
That quick. And in Shanghai, their streets, their sidewalks are wider than this room
Really?
and full of people.
Oh.
And when we stopped, 70 to 80 people stopped too. They wondered why you stopped, you know.
Right, because you're sort of sightseeing, looking
How
around.
are you going to
and-
find anybody?
Yeah.
But that's the way it was.
Oh my God.
You had to be fair. And I'll tell you another little case. I don't know, I'm telling you all these things.
No, it's all right. That's what we're here for.
We were, after we went through different places and seen things, and they had showcase there, you know, of jewelry and all kind of stuff. And we was looking around in here, and this guy says, when he reached in there for his wallet, and there's a hand in there already. And he grabbed the guy's hand, and the guy pulled away, and of course disappeared in the crowd.
Already had his wallet.
No, he didn't get it.
Ah.
But he felt it. It was going in to reach his wallet, and the hand was just in there. It got him at the right time.
Oh my
Imagine that.
gosh.
Yeah. And then we went to a place there that, I don't know whether you're familiar with any of this stuff or not. A farmer out there one time was digging, and he accidentally found what looked like a head, a ceramic head.
Okay.
So he didn't know what to think. So he went to the authorities where he was working and told them about it. Well, since then, they have built a huge building around that farm area there. I would say it's size of a football field.
Wow.
And they started digging. And they dug up an entire army that had been buried for this
Really?
this Chinaman that was the head of the country. So yeah, he said that when he died, he wanted an army there to protect his tomb.
Wow.
And they had the horses, people, everything in there, all ceramic, and no two alike. They claimed that they were designed after real people, and right same size as people.
To scale and everything.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. And they dug that all up there, and a lot of them were in pieces, you know, but they put them together as best they can. And I got all
That's
pictures of all this
crazy.
stuff, you know.
Huh.
And it was very interesting. And they said that they were going to, that was phase 1. They said they were going through 3 phases. They figured they don't know how far out this would stretch. And
Wow.
it was something.
Huh. I've never heard that.
And another time, we went to what they called the Hall of the People, which is right on Tiananmen Square.
Oh.
And Tiananmen Square, in case you'd ever seen it or heard about it,
I've heard about it.
it's so big. They said they could put 1 million people standing in there, in that square, and it is big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, we were invited as our group, you know,
Okay.
to go in there to a big banquet. We were all dressed up nice, you know, and guards on the steps. They said no. The only American that ever was allowed in there was Nixon when he was president.
Wow.
He's the only American. And here we are as a group. And people are out there looking and who are these people, you know? We walked in there, that big red carpet, you know, walking in there, got on around, finally got on the elevator and took us on upstairs. It's a huge room, great big round tables, and we all paraded in there and found a place to sit, you know.
Wow.
And on these tables, they have a big Lazy Susan out of thick glass.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's probably about half as big as this table, only big round.
Okay.
And we had 9 or 10 people around it. And you just move that thing. It has food, all kinds of food on there. You make your own meal.
Okay.
In other words, there's all kinds of stuff on there. You just bring it around and take it off, take what you want. And then and this is, like I say, this mammoth room up there. And behind us, they had their army band.
Oh.
There must have been about 200 people in
Wow.
it, playing music all the time, but American music.
Huh.
And we was visiting, you know, and the president, I think the president of the country was there. Him and his dignitaries were with him, come around to every one of the tables, shook hands with every one of us.
Wow.
And it had wine made out of plums, plum wine.
Wow.
And everybody saluted with him at the same time, you know. And as they're playing music there, you know, and we're eating and talking and everything, and all of a sudden they played Stars and Stripes Forever. And boy, that whole place just blew up.
Oh.
Everybody stood up, you know, and they played it beautiful too. Yeah.
Man, what a good experience.
Yeah,
That's
it's really, really something, you know.
Huh.
And they would give us things to keep, you know, like a picture frame. Had a little, well, let's see, it would be a bear, no. Anyhow, to designate the combination between the United States and them, you know,
Oh, okay.
they would have a koala bear or whatever you call him, a little bear there.
The panda?
The panda bear,
Was
yeah.
it a panda? Okay.
That's their favorite.
Yeah.
And we went and seen them too, by the way.
Oh, neat.
Where they're at.
The natural
that's something to
habitat.
see. And had a panda bear there, and had an American, I forget what it is here.
Like an eagle or something, maybe?
It's the framework, and they gave each one of us that.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Huh.
But they were always giving us a lot of stuff. Even on the plane going over.
Yeah.
Every hour they'd be coming around giving you something.
Huh.
On the plane there, and that took 12 hours, 12-hour flight.
Like,
And, you know, they'd give you booties, they'd give you a packet there that had toothpaste, brush, everything that you can need when you're traveling, you know. They was always giving you stuff, and for keepsakes.
mm-hmm.
And it was really a lot to remember, I'll tell you. A lot of things happened. But and then, of course, they had a lot of speeches up there, you know.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of stories from different people and different friends. I mean, the guys in the service, some of the things they went through and everything. And one of the big highlights, it must have been about 8 or 10 days after we were already there. We were at another banquet. We went to more banquets, I tell you. They brought this man in. He's all dressed up, beautiful. And I didn't know him.
Uh-huh.
But at one time, he was a mascot with the outfit. Now remember, this is 50 years have passed.
Oh my gosh.
And he's grown up.
This is the one that was adopted out?
No.
That came home with you?
No, this is a different one. This was the one
okay.
in India.
Oh, okay.
No. I think he was from India. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, they introduced him. And I can't even remember his name. And he says, I feel I'm part of the Flying Tigers. He says, when I was little, you had me, and I'm growing up now. I still feel that I'm part of you.
Oh.
So he went around shaking hands and everything, and and everybody, and then talked things, but we didn't know what was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you, it cost us $1,200 a piece to go.
Right.
And after he had left, this is gone and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and we were getting ready. We were in the bus. We rode around in buses. This guy that was the head of our bus there in our outfit, he says, "You remember so and so, the man?" Yeah. He said, "You know what he did while he was there?" I know. He says he wrote us a check to the Flying Tigers, our group. He signed it. And he says, "You fill it in." He says, "I won't feel it."
Really?
That's how rich he got. He came from Cambodia. That's where he was living.
Wow.
And some of the guys said, "Well, how much was it?" He says, "How much did you pay?" He says, "For this trip." We said $1,200. Well, he said when they figured it all out, it was $12,000 a piece that he paid for all our whole thing.
So he
A piece.
funded most of it.
Hmm?
So he helped pay for some of that?
He paid for the whole thing
Oh my God.
on top of what we paid. Yeah. He said, "Yeah." He said, "I won't feel it."
Wow.
You imagine that?
No?
Gee, Merry Christmas, I tell you. Just so many things like that happen, I'm telling you. When you start thinking about,
Yeah.
but it was a beautiful trip.
It sounds like a
Beautiful
nice trip.
Yeah.
So, did you ever join any military organizations like VFW?
I'm a lifetime member of the American Legion,
Right.
the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always helped out the disabled veterans and everything. I know what they were going through,
Right.
and I give to the guiding eyes, the blind people that they end up getting dogs free and stuff like that. Yeah, because my eyes are a little bit not complete. Yeah, I'm going through this macular degeneration.
My grandma had
But
that.
I've got about 90%
Yeah.
vision. And I can read and everything, but real tiny, fine stuff, I have a little problem. I use a magnifying glass then.
Yeah.
But other than that, I go to the doctor once a month. He gives me a shot in each eye,
Yep.
and that helps.
Good.
So, so I try to help people out that I feel they're necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do whatever you can.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you're able.
And I sent to Memphis down there for the kids, for cancer and stuff like that for them. because they never charged anybody anything. That was Danny Thomas started that.
Right. The man, what's it called?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Is it St. Jude?
St. Jude's.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
I try to pick out. Everybody wants help. Everybody wants
Right,
help.
but you have to pick.
But you know, you can't do it.
That's exactly what my grandpa used to say.
I picked the certain ones that I know have to have it.
Right.
But
Oh, that's very nice.
so, like I say, since I was through it, I know what it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand. Oh, we went down to the honor flight
Yeah.
down to Washington.
Did
That
you
was
like
nice.
that?
That was very nice.
I've heard really, really good things about those.
Very nice, yeah. Of course, I'd been to Washington a number of times, but we wanted to see our memorial,
Right.
and we did with that. And didn't cost us anything
Yeah.
for the whole thing, you know.
And that's a pretty quick day trip, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a long day, but
they
it's...
pick you up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
get you up to the airport, and you're there, and by the time you get home about 10, 11 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
you get your meals and everything, you know. It's very, very nice, but you can't find out who did it. It's always, they say it's a voluntary thing
Right.
that people donate, and makes you feel kind of funny when you come home going through the airport, you know, everybody's lined up there.
Somebody else said that he said it's very odd. Just
They clap in their hands
Yes.
and even shake your hand if they can get you.
Yes.
I mean, it's appreciated.
Yes.
But it makes you feel funny.
That's what he said. It makes a little uncomfortable
Yeah.
sometimes.
Even people in uniform.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can understand the situation, but then,
Yeah.
of course, we went in, we had no choice. The war was on, and that's why we went.
Right. It was very necessary.
And you stop and think about it. And I've talked about it. I've said the same thing here right the other day. If anybody is 69 years old or less, they weren't even around here yet when I was in the war. Now you figure out how many people that is.
Yeah, you put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go back 69 years, and that's back during the war, and they weren't even born yet.
Wow.
So that's one way of looking at it,
Right.
you know. And they do. Anybody I see, people see my license on my things.
What do you have?
Flying Tiger. And I've had, one day, my wife was driving, and somebody was following her, and she got scared.
Oh.
And every place she turned, he turned. So finally, she figured I better head into the mall where there was a lot of people. So she did. And he pulled right alongside of her. He had a pickup truck. And he said, "Ma'am," he said, "I'm sorry." He said, "I didn't mean to scare you." He said, "But I saw your license plate," and he says, I thought I'd like to talk to you. Was you in the Flying Tigers?" She said, "No, my husband was." Oh, then he told her. He said one time he bought a flying jacket with the numbers and everything on it, leather. And he said, I thought I'd like to find out who owned it.
Aww.
And I don't know how to go about it. So she said, "Well, I don't really know. I'll have to ask my husband." So he gave her his address. He lived down in Ashland, Ohio. So I stopped down there one time.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I stopped down to talk to him and everything, and I told him about what I thought he could do. See, our headquarters is down in Georgia. And best thing to do is contact them down there. Maybe they could...
We have some sort of
get the-
documentation.
So I never really heard any more from him after that, but then that's one of them things. But I've had other people stop me and talk to me and shake hands. And a couple just got back from China, and they called me. In fact, they came over, and he said, "We just came over there, and we heard that you was in there, and we heard a lot of people over there talking about that, and we thought we'd try to find out stuff." So I gave them a tape that they could play it, and they were so glad for that. And, but people notice that stuff, you know.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So.
Well, anything else you want to add? I think we did good. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I don't know. I just see what I had in
Okay.
here. But, oh, there's General Chenault's daughter with me.
Oh.
That's his youngest daughter. She looks just like him.
Really?
He married a Chinese woman
Okay.
while he was over there. Yeah, and he had 2 or 3 children.
Wow.
And let's see, I got some stuff.